All right, hey guys, we're here today at York County Public Safety Communications. Again, this is Adam McGeary with Shield Solutions. Today we have the honor and the pleasure of meeting with the Director of York County Public Communications, Mr. Alan Brandon. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being willing to talk to us today. If you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about yourself before we get this started.
Alan Brandon, I've been here 8 years. I've been in law enforcement for 40 this year. So it's been a while. I work with the Sheriff's Office predominantly my whole career. 8 years ago, I came to Public Safety Communications to take over the 911 system, the radio system, and addressing. There's a number of functions that fall under it, but there's communications throughout the county.
Okay, wow, that's a awesome career of service to the community, and we appreciate you for that. And thank you for all that's been involved in that. Our main goal of our video today is to kind of let you, the viewers, know what to expect if you ever have to make that 911 call. And unfortunately, people do have to make those calls. And I wish no one ever had to make that call ever again, right? But it's something that's inevitable. It's something that happens. And so we're just going to run through a few questions that we have to help get answers for you, the viewers, on the process of calling 911. And just kind of as a heads up, just remember a lot of this information is kind of be more specific to the York County, South Carolina area. If you're calling from somewhere other than that, you might experience a little bit different. Basically, my first question is, so I have an emergency happen and I dial 911. What should I expect to hear from the dispatcher when they pick up?
Whenever you call 911, it happens in really milliseconds. Everybody pays a 911 fee no matter where they live. So when that call comes through, whether it's a hardwired device, a VoIP phone, or just a regular cell phone, it goes through a specific trail to get to us, so to speak. But whenever they get into the center, basically you're going to be asked what assistance you need, police, fire, medical. There are many different ways of answering the phone, but ours typically is, do you need police, fire, medical? At that point, you pick one or the other or both or all three, depending upon the circumstance. But we can kind of lead you through that, but we try to get help as quickly as possible by streamlining that process if it's police, fire, medical. So
definitely, that's one of the biggest points I like to make. Is sometimes people expect they're going to hear 911, what's your emergency, or something like that, and they're ready to go. But a lot of times that first question is police, fire, medical. And as we were talking about earlier, once you know our address, location, and what we're requesting, you've already sent it. You're already sending it, and you're probably going to bombard the caller with a lot of other questions. So that kind of leads us to the next part about that. Me as the caller, what's information I should be prepared to give you?
One thing when you call is remember the person at our center, specifically when you call us, you're not talking to the person that's dispatching the call. You're talking to a call taker that is solely speaking to you about your event or your incident. So they're taking the information, they're putting it in a computer, and then automatically other people around the room are dispatching, whether it's fire, police, medical units. So take your time and give them the information they're requesting. We have things called guide cards. And by those guide cards, depending upon what type of incident it is, they're asking you specific questions. If it's a police nature or it's somebody that's a crime in progress, certainly that is something that they're going to put out very quickly, a priority, and if it has weapons involved or not. If it's a fire, on the other hand, they want to know, can you see flames? Is it smoke? Is none of that prevalent? You just heard or somebody told you to call. They're going to ask specific questions regarding every type of incident. For medical, on the other hand, is the person awake? Are they conscious? Do you know what is laying around them that may have attributed to whatever the circumstance may be? It could be somebody had fallen. It could be somebody that has a heart attack. So we're going to ask specific questions to see what answers we get to kind of make the first responders aware of what they're going to find once they get on scene.
Okay, great. And that the more information that's specific and relevant to the incident that you give them, the better. So just remember that and make sure people are aware. So what are some other ways? So say if I can't make a phone call because I'm in the middle of an emergency or something's happening to me, especially something dangerous, what are some ways I could activate the emergency response system? Is there a texting system? Is there something like that available?
We've had texting to 911 since 2017, and it is a priority service just like calling 911. But texting to 911, we always tell folks when we're teaching about it or educating is call if you can, text if you can't. But texting to 911 gives us certain particulars. You'll get a canned message back from us automatically, and it says, what's your emergency? Please give us the location because sometimes people are moving and we need to know that. But give us the location is important and tell us what's going on. There are many different reasons for using texting versus calling. You may be in a situation where you can't really talk. Maybe somebody's trying to break in your house, you're hiding in a closet, you don't want to give away your location.
Good point.
That would be a great place to use texting instead of that. Also, you may be in a situation that it may be somebody that is hard of hearing, and they have their cell phone and they use it primarily as a texting instrument. So those are things that we certainly look for. But many situations, there have been many incidents throughout the years past where it's a school shooting, whether it's a situation that's medically induced. People text us to let us know what's going on. But typically it's going to be a kidnapping situation. If you are being kidnapped, certainly you can use texting to let us know where you're at. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to pick up your location to be able to follow and throughout that certain situation to send help to you. That's why the location is really important, so we know that either you're mobile or you're not, to kind of give first responders the ability. If there are circumstances like what type of home, what does it look like, cars in the driveway, all these things can be asked, but we're really looking for some of the essentials in the very beginning is what's the cause, what's the reason, and what type of help do you need?
Definitely. And we're going to be doing some follow-up video series on this, talking about some specific things as far as information that you want to make sure your kids are prepared to give them if they have to make that call, information that you can have available, steps you can do when the EMS unit or the fire unit's coming to kind of make their in and out, if you will, with the patient a little bit more smooth. So we'll be adding those videos for sure. Another thing I'd love to ask, and I know we talked about this a little bit before too, but what's either the youngest caller, I know you mentioned a kind of a specific, unique type of caller that you've had, and if you don't mind sharing that with our group too.
We have a thing here at the center, it's called our Hero Wall, and that's where we honor students around the county that have actually called into the center. Either they have a parent, a guardian, a brother, sister, somebody may be unconscious, maybe having a baby, or whatever the circumstances are. They're calling because someone needs assistance now. And they've had positive, outcomes. So that's really the youngest caller, probably I'd say 6 or 7, that's on our Hero Wall. And outside of that, the other caller is we have had instance where someone has diabetes and they may become unconscious or whatever, but they have a guardian, they have a dog that has been taught to call 911 as well. So pretty cool in its concept. But yet the animals have their place too. And certainly we have it noted in our CAD system, which is computer aided dispatch, that if a call comes in from this specific residence, wherever it is, that we would automatically dispatch medical units because of that.
Definitely. So that's something I'd never even considered or thought of before until we had our little pre-interview here before recording. But a dog collar, I think that's just phenomenal. Cool. Yeah, it's absolutely really cool. So kind of wrapping this up, because I know you're busy, and again I thank you for your time. Just any last tips or words of wisdom that you'd share with our callers? One thing I try to stress to everybody is I'd rather prevent an incident than ever have one, right? Because that's the only way you can ensure the successful outcome is to not let it happen to begin with. So that's always the words of wisdom that I like to share on that. But is there anything that you want to share with the group?
Just kind of going back over a little bit of the information is when you call, be prepared to answer some questions. It's hard for somebody in a stressful environment to give information because they don't feel like we're giving them the assistance they're requesting. We are. Just remember, in our center, when you call, other people are dispatching the call. This person is solely tied to you, and they are trying to gain information for first responders. So whenever they're asking questions, take your time, answer the questions, because if they don't get it immediately, they're going to continue to ask the question. So answer the question. They're going to get you the help you need. And as we move forward, certainly, hopefully the assistance gets here in a very quick manner. But also going back over to text 911, it's many different uses. Domestic situations are another one, outside of active shooter or assailant situations. But also just keep in mind that you can give that information up, and it's a matter of texting. Just go to your normal text format, put 911 at the top, and go down below and start inputting information where you would normally text. That's kind of how you do it. A lot of people don't realize we have that. We've had it for a number of years. We now have some of our alarms coming in through text, so it never really goes through a person. It hits their system and is automatically routed here, which is a pretty cool thing too, but it saves time and getting those responders out. But in saying that, I'd say call us if you can at 911, but if you can't, always remember you can text us.
Definitely. Absolutely. Great words. I appreciate that. That's just about it. We'll make sure, so York County Public Safety Communications does a lot as far as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'll put links to all of those in whatever platforms we're publishing this to. So make sure you like, follow all the information that they have out. I know you have Fact Friday and a bunch of good information that's just great to stay up on. Having a mindset of prevention in this is key, though, and preparing for the event before it ever happens, and hopefully it never does actually happen. But make sure all your family's on the same page. They know where to access that important information. They know what information needs to be said, because you can't just pick up the phone and practice dialing 911, but you can at least have a discussion with your family about what you need to be ready for if that event ever happens.
Especially with children, too.
Absolutely.
Make sure children know addresses and phone numbers.
Definitely.
Because of the society we're in today, they certainly want to play with a phone or deal with phones, but they also need to understand where they physically live. And I'd have it posted prominently in your house somewhere, what your address is, what mom and dad or caregivers' phone numbers are, because if a phone goes out, and how many kids have phones? Everybody. If it goes out, or if it's lost, or even if it loses a battery, they're stuck in water. They don't know who to call, how to call, because they don't remember phone numbers anymore.
Definitely. Great point on that too. There's so much information that's important to know. And like Mr. Brandon mentioned, in the event that emergency going on, that's the first thing that fall out of your head if you haven't really taken the time to dedicate it, that training and that review of that information ahead of time. So again, I know your time is valuable, and I can't thank you enough so much for your time. I appreciate everything, and thank y'all for watching. Appreciate it.